Hey guys, some gamer dude here. Did not expect Dragonic Overlord this quickly, but I woke up to a comment asking if I'd cover it, not knowing it had been revealed last night my time. So I looked it up, and there it was. Let's look at it. But first, I quickly want to look at Vortex Dragon, who I was going to look at today. Vortex Dragon sets a few things in place that I think are quite interesting. Firstly, that not every grade 3 gives gifts. I am very curious on how many grade 3 actually gives gifts now, whether it's one a clan like it was for Break Ride originally, whether it's what I've suggested before, bosses that don't fit in the same deck while I'm giving gifts to promote diversity, etc. Nevertheless, VBT01 is going to be very interesting. Then there is Vortex's effects. Vortex was originally a Mega Blast, and this has similar themes. If this is the reconfigured Mega Blast, it's good work. The original Mega Blasts were only ever used for their soul charge effects like Mr. Invincible and CEO Amaterasu, having 5 damage ready to counterblast and 8 soul ready to soul blast, as well as needing to hit. This is more of an altered ultimate break, doing something, then doing something more if you have 5 damage. I like this change quite a bit. It's still somewhat hard to use it effectively thanks to the fact you only have 2 cards left to block your opponent's Vanguard with, but if you force them into a small hand and use it for finishing power while nuking interceptors, it's okay. It is only a rare. It's still better than the original at the very least. But the main reason I did want to talk about it at all was not everyone getting gifts and the replacement of Mega Blast. So let's discuss the main event. Dragonic Overlord. Yesterday I said I was wondering if it'd be like the End, the Great, or something else. It's a massively retooled and rebalanced Dragonic Overlord the End. The first effect raises questions on what a card is actually valued at in this reboot. Soul cost was never really quantifiable, but was never worth 1 card, much less than that. Arguably less than half a card. Yet here we have Soul Blast 1 for plus 10,000 power, wherever, as an act. Given that triggers are now plus 10,000, I would assume 10,000 power is worth 1 card. That is a substantial boost in the value of Soul. I'm not upset about this change. Soul is a very limited resource in most clans and is only achieved by taking a -1 to ride. Yes, riding will probably happen more often thanks to the gift markers, but it's still a -1. Also of note, Dragonic Overlord doesn't have an on-ride skill, but can use the Soul to have a skill from riding. That's kinda neat. Then we get to Dragonic Overlord's main effect. Once a turn, on Vanguard, hit anything, CB1, pitch 2, stand at -1 drive. I guess we should go with the question, is this appropriately costed? It's very open like the End. This is spoilers for a video I'm releasing in May when I'll be too busy to make content on the fly, but restanding was originally costed at 2 to 2.5 cards, about that mark. This Dragonic Overlord here is costed closer to 4 cards. Discard 2, drive -1, and then CB1 and 2 restrictions. You end up with -1 card than you would otherwise total at the end of the turn. Cost-wise, I think this is perfectly fine for this effect. This is much closer to what Vanguard restanding was recosted to post the End. The second question is, with both this card's built-in power buff and this meta's built-in power buff, so 2 power buffs, will this make this card oppressive? Not taking into account further force gifts by riding further times, Dragonic Overlord is swinging around 29,000 boosted by starter, with a further plus 10k for every use of its act. Remember, like Dragonic Overlord the End and Stern Blaukluger, this card's effect can swing at a grade 2. Assuming that you do use the power buff effect once, that's 39,000 versus a 10k. Replace that grade 0 with a grade 1 and you'll hit 41k. Keep in mind, Twin Drive has a 55% chance of hitting 1 trigger, and if you're running 8 critical, a 30.2 chance of hitting a critical. So someone facing down Dragonic Overlord is expected to guard somewhere in the vicinity of 40,000 for a 2 to pass, something with a 90% chance of failing. Compare to Stern Blaukluger, which could be forced up to 21,000 if it used specific combinations of cards, necessitating a 20k shield in the same scenario. Yes, our shields are much larger in the reboot, but a reasonable expectation here is 3 cards. 2 offensive triggers and a grade 1 versus Stern's 2 non-draw triggers. Yes, you can hold down Overlord with 2 heal triggers, but at that point you might as well just bank on a perfect guard. So, is Overlord too oppressive? Not really. There are a few things to keep in mind. Should it hit and critical, the opponent has the same chance of hitting a defensive trigger. Then the Overlord player is down total 1 card from where they would have been, making them vulnerable. This is what happened with Stern Blaukluger. The Overlord player could also bank on hitting a critical during Twin Drive, and it doesn't happen. Even with 12 critical, there's still a 57% chance of failure to hit a critical. They're allowed to hit, then blocked on the much easier to stop second swing. If they're allowed to hit, the second swing is also much easier to stop. This is not Dragonic Overlord the end that hits and ends up with a total +1 due to pitching a persona. V Overlord ends up with a -1. Not a +1. You might wonder why I'm not talking about hitting a rear guard. That's because it loses a ton of pressure if it goes after a rear due to not retaining Twin Drive. If Overlord hits a rear guard and then swings at the Vanguard, like a grade 1 or 2, it only has a 32.6% chance of hitting a trigger. It's just better to attack the Vanguard, exert a lot of pressure, and then break through or force a ton of shield. Dragonic Overlord is probably going to get some incredibly cheesy wins. People usually take 1 or 2 damage over the grade 1 and 2 rides if the defending player can't stop the second swing, doesn't hit a heal, and the Overlord player hits a critical on the first swing, it's over, and it wasn't a fun game. But that's a lot of circumstances lining up. I don't think Dragonic Overlord is anywhere near a bad card, and the pressure is going to take its toll on a lot of games. But it's a strong yet fair card. This is not Dragonic Overlord the end. This has been some Gamer Dude, and I'll talk to you guys next video.